Drag racing fan Lee Craft, the Monday Morning Racer, live from Z-Max Dragway. Got the step-by-step poster behind me. Also in studio with me here in the media room of the tower of Z-Max Dragway, got Rich McPhillips Jr. We'll be talking with him in just a moment. If you would be so kind, every time I'm mobile, I do want to know, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Put it in the comment section. Let me know that you can hear me. So that means you can also hear Rich in just a few moments. And we chat with him about McPhillips Racing, Tony Stewart, drag racing overall for him, his family, what he's accomplished, what they plan on accomplishing. And they've already accomplished a lot in the world of drag racing. Matt Sackman, hey man, had you on a couple of weeks ago. Y'all can check that episode out on Between the Slicks. That was the latest episode. Thanks for saying loud and clear. I appreciate that from everybody. Brian, Leslie, thank you very much. After we chat with Mr. McPhillips, we're definitely going to dive into drag news around the drag racing world and throw out some opinion in the burn down segment. And I think it is, well, fitting to talk about tracks once again, losing them, gaining them, and what it all means for the sport. I don't think we need to cry that we're losing it just yet, okay? We're going to take a break. Right after the break, the guest tonight, Mr. Rich McPhillips Jr. for McPhillips Racing. Right after this word from Power-Built Tools. Power-Built Tools exemplifies innovation in the tool industry. From hand tools, power tools, and even tool storage. Check out powerbuilt.com for Power-Built Tools. And remember, use promo code MMR15 for 15% off at purchase. All right, folks, back here at Z-Max Dragway, Mr. Rich McPhillips Jr. I walked up to him at Las Vegas. I said, so who's like the spokesperson for the team? I'd like to talk to somebody. He's like, that's me, and that's why he is here tonight. The team, let's talk about it. McPhillips Racing, when we say that, who are we talking about? Obviously, your dad, for one, but who else is involved with McPhillips Racing?
I mean, like everybody knows with this whole deal, it all takes people, and you got to have good people. Luckily, we were surrounded with a lot of, quality people. We got Wayne and Renee Butler that are traveling up and down the road with us. Even this week, we had Chris Hull bail us out. We got broke down in New Mexico. He drove a rig down. He's with us this weekend. I got Eric Belair, Bill, Chad. I mean, it takes bodies for this amount for two cars, and then Jasmine has Big Tex and Chris working on hers, and it's really just a big team, and everybody jumps in where they have to, and it takes a lot of moving parts.
So who all are the McPhillips Racing involved with behind the scenes and in front of the scenes? I mean, well, obviously people know clearly Tony Stewart, but what are some of the other names? You just mentioned Jasmine with her A-Fuel operation. So how many cars, how many times are people getting in and out of the rides of a McPhillips Racing machine?
As of now, we have our own two cars. That's Tony Stewart's driving the one. Mike Coughlin and Matt Cummings drive the other one. That's what we call our original green machine, and now it has a Jegs body on it. That's the car I drove a couple times. Then Jasmine, they own that car, but we tune it and maintain it. And so there's basically three cars at most races that we attend. So half the time we're battling each other, and between us and Randy Meyer and his crew, it's half the field.
Well, you bring up Randy Meyer and it being like half the field, and then you throw in the Samsels, you throw in many of the other competitors, some of the blown guys for sure. I mean, a blown combination is a defending world champion rolling into this year. The status of the class, I think there might not be another time it's been more competitive than it is right now. Do you think that's the case, that right now, 2023, it is the most competitive that it might have ever been?
The cars that are out here now are all working really hard and are competitive. There's nobody that has a couple hundreds here and there. I mean, Sean's been running great. Sean Cowie this year. At times he's had a couple hundredths on the field, but it seems between weather or just the way the race goes, he hasn't been able to totally put it together. He did last weekend in Vegas. Looked like he owned that place. And Joey, he can throw down. And it's just, there's a lot. There is, we'll call it parity, because it basically changes though based on racetrack and weather. We can have a good day and the A-fuel cars can haul ass, and the other day it's hot and muggy and blown cars are going to whip up on us.
Do you think, even with those changing conditions, and yes, some days the blown cars are going to have more favorable conditions, some days the injected nitro cars are going to have more favorable conditions, do you believe that still the deciding factor is whoever is behind that wheel, that they have got to cut that light, they have got to manage everything rightly to get down the track more than even that?
I mean, at this point, the cars are so close. Once you get past first round might be somewhat, not a gimme. There's no gimmies, but there's the one where you can breathe a little bit, even though that's usually the most nervous round because you got to get by first round to keep moving on. But from second round on, and as you can see by the final in Vegas, everybody's on. Everybody has to hit the tree. I mean, the worst light in the final in Vegas, I think, was a 48.
Right.
I mean, you had 4 drivers all be, right there, and it's their job. I mean, it's definitely left up to them. The crew guys. I mean, you're not going to make a driver can't make a slow car fast, but a driver can can wreck a fast car.
For sure. And let's talk about the pressures of the different races involved. So people, obviously, they're familiar. They see it's on TV, national event, but there's also regionals.
Yep.
And regionals are interesting. Like the Baby Gators were fascinating, that you've got an 8-car field with, I think, 19 cars attempting to make that field. What is more pressure, national event or those regionals?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, a national event, you can have a bad 2 laps, you still get in on the third. You don't have to throw down. But when you go to them regionals and there's 19 cars for 8 spots, and there's 12 520 cars and team cars, I mean, I don't know if it's okay to say, but it's an ass puckering moment. I mean, there's not, if you don't lay down Q1, it's a nerve wracking deal. We went in with Tony; he wasn't qualified at Baby Gators going into Q3, and we even limped him in. I think we only ended up with 6th or 7th, maybe even 8th. I don't know, but yeah, it's they don't get enough attention for the kind of competition they are. But yeah, in Vegas last week, I think there was 17 cars for an 8-car field, and that bump went to like 5:30. I mean, they're hauling. There's a lot of people going home.
Right. It's old top field numbers.
Yeah.
And that's how far along the sport has come, and things have progressed. That, I mean, you look into the 80s, that's what top field was running, and you all are doing it without a blower. It's insane.
Management.
Right. It is absolutely insane what the cars are capable of doing, and it's
and
just
being restricted.
Yes,
if it wasn't for them damn blower cars, I'm going to say it, he'd probably be in the 4s by now.
Well, there you go. There you go, folks. Probably be in the 4s.
Run a 4 in their blower car. We'll help them.
If you need help out there, he's willing to help, Mr. McPhillips. Now, you had a cool moment, and not too many people get to do this, though it's a sad moment, and you might not be able to see it, but I'm going to bring it up so everyone else can see it. You won the last Southern Nationals.
Yeah.
And, that was my home national event. Obviously, track's gone. You don't ever get to win the last one ever again or the first one ever again, and you were able to get the job done. So you're a winning race car driver in your own right. Like, I saw it in Virginia myself, that you won a regional as well. So talk to me about driving from your perspective and getting the job done and what it takes.
Yeah, well, another cool thing on that is that's Atlanta's where my dad won his first national event in dragster. So that was a cool deal for me because I had it in my head that he really needed to pull that off, and that was my first national event I ever competed in. And it's the driving part is great, and I love it. But I mean, it's just I like watching everybody else succeed just as much. Also, I mean, but I've been around it my whole life. I've watched my dad compete. I mean, half the time I wish my dad was a little bit younger so he was in it right now because he deserves this recognition. He deserves the Wallies. He deserves the credit because this is his life. He's devoted everything to this operation, And I wish he was getting more of the Wallies and the W's and championships and all the rest, because there was a lot of years that we struggled along, and he's never given up, never even thought about quitting. He's definitely not buying a boat. We joke about going fishing. That ain't happening. It's just, and we don't joke about it, but he fully expects to die at a racetrack. Like that, this is what he loves. This is why he's going down the road with me. He's almost 69 years old. We're in the rig. We just drove 40 hours from Vegas over to here, trucks breaking down, trailer issues. It's just part of the game, and it's just what we love and we dig. And Atlanta was a cool deal. It's something that I'll never forget. I mean, and the best part is, so you win. I get excited on the starting line when I'm not in the car, because you're there with your crew, you're jumping up, you're acting like an ass. You get to do that. But then on the other end, you get to do the interview and you get the trophy. But then you still want your crew to get there. The whole point is, like, I wanted to see my dad get there. I wanted to see my crew guys. It's like, that's why it's not about the trophies or any of that stuff. It's just when everybody's working together and it works out, it's just, you can't duplicate it. That's why this is an addictive thing. It's just in your blood, and it's just part of us. It's what we do.
The people around all the mechanisms make it special, honestly. I firmly believe you take the people out of it, this thing is not as special as people really see it, which is one reason why I do this show, because so people can see the people side of it.
Everybody sees the races and the winning or the losing and all the rest, but it's not a lot of it's the 3 days driving to get here, the 4 days adventure. I mean, nothing's easy.
Right.
Not everybody that thinks that anything's easy and you just show up and everything goes as planned. Nope. Nothing ever goes as planned. I don't make plans because they're going to change.
They're going to change.
Everybody wants to say, "Oh, what are you doing? What's your plan?" I mean, I put a race schedule together. We know where we're going racing, but in between there's no plan. You're just trying to get there.
You mentioned your dad, Rich McPhillips. How did he get involved in this? We spoke earlier, almost 54 years total being in drag racing. How did he start? And what was the progression of starting and being involved to a point now where a Tony Stewart looks at McPhillips Racing's like, that's where I want to race?
15, he wanted to actually become wanted to go into auto body and paint. The class was filled up at tech, so he ended up in the mechanic class, auto mechanic, and his teacher, TJ Reber, had a race car, and he was actually selling it at the time. It was a home built 82-inch Alder death trap. Nobody should have been driving in a period, and Dad wanted to go racing. So nobody knows it, but I mean, he used to hitchhike to this guy's house because he was only 15. He didn't have a car, he didn't have a license, so he'd hitchhike, and he'd get there and they'd go racing. They did run Cecil County. We had a bunch of local tracks then, and it went from basically a bracket car, short wheelbase death trap. Then all of a sudden next year they had like a Z, like an all aluminum Z6 motor, like something that's worth $100,000 today. They throw it in this Alder, make it even go faster. And then I think he drove that for probably 4 or 5 years at least. Then I think he got hooked up with my mom, and they were high school sweethearts and all that stuff. And then the kids came and all that good stuff. So he started tuning on a comp car with TJ Reber and the guy Pete Gallen, who's also was a successful driver at Alki Funny Car and Nostalgia Funny Car. And then it just progressed from the comp car to an Alki Funny Car where they match raced up and down the East Coast. Then we built a competitive alcohol funny car basically in like 87 through 90. They ran top Alki Funny Car where they were one of I think the top cars in the country, battling with Manzo and Newberry on the East Coast, Arnie Karp, and then you had Pat Austin and Brad Anderson and them guys kicking ass.
That was a good top alcohol funny car time.
Yeah, I mean that was stout. That was right before like the screw came in. It was still the Helix. It was still we used to go to races. I was like 10, 12 years old, and be me, my dad, Pete, and like one guy, and you run a competitive alcohol funny car. You can't do that anymore. It was a great time. I think they held the record for the first 5-second record, but they didn't get the first 5-second run, just based on the run order. They had choice, and they picked last pair, and Bob Newberry picked up a 10th and was first in the 5s and sold a lot of T-shirts and got a lot of recognition. But they were hauling. And Pete decided he was going to get out of the funny car deal, and Pop decided he was going to build a dragster. And he's really a funny car guy. We're older than funny car guys, but I think I was 12 or 13, 14 at the most, and we're not lifting an Alki funny car body by ourselves. And the cost of running funny car competitively then was probably twice the money of dragster. So he put a funny car motor, built a dragster, and that's how we ended up in dragster. Ran a blown dragster for, I think, 2-3 years at least. I think he won the division his first year, second year. And then he got hooked up with a guy, Frank Collinari, who was one of the early injected nitro guys on the East Coast. And that got him his first taste of nitro. And it's been all nitro since.
All nitro since, and doing a lot of winning and getting the job done. And yeah, alluded to it earlier, but there has to be certainly a sense of pride, pleasure, esteem that Mike Salinas would say, I want these guys tuning my daughter's car. That Tony Stewart, with all that he's accomplished coming into the sports, like, I want to race these guys' car. And many others, such as even Coughlin, with that last name and what they've done in drag racing, is like, I want my brand, I want my name associated with McPhillips. Yeah. That's certainly something that has to give y'all a sense of pride.
Yeah, it is. And I think we just really take pride in that. We're going to give, no matter who's driving, who's working on it, who's buying, renting, or whatever, we're just going to, all we want is competitive cars. We're only here to win. There's nothing, we're not here to drink beer. We're not here to grill and do all that stuff. We eat when we're here, but that's, right. We skip.
Y'all do that. Yeah. But you're just not why you're here.
That is not why we're here. We're not going to be the friendliest guys bouncing trailer to trailer. We're not, it's just, we have a job. Our focus is winning. Like, everybody wants to have fun, but our idea of fun is winning. Like, that's fun. Losing first round and sucking like we did in the beginning of the year, we were on suicide watch. We were just, it's just not what we had planned to unroll, and it's not our standard. And we just know, we think people come to us because we're just going to give them a competitive car and be professional and win. People pay us to win. That's what they deserve. This isn't a cheap endeavor by any means, and we want to have fun, we want to win, but this is our job right now, and it's got to be performance related and based, and we don't make excuses. When we suck, and it's not going to be blaming drivers or blaming this or blaming that. We're just going to keep working, and we're going to fix it, and hopefully we've done that so far. I mean, the green car we've had since 2009. I mean, it's an old, worn-in car, and it just goes down a dirt road. So we don't have to babysit that one as much. And then the new car throws a curve, and we've just worked through it. And it wasn't like, and everybody keeps saying new car. When I say that, it's not a chassis. We didn't have a chassis issue. Richie Crampton built us a beautiful car. I mean, it goes straight. Tony loves it. It fits perfect. That car is a beautiful car. Anthony DeSera with Composite Specialties put the body on. It wasn't a car problem. We keep saying new car issue, but it was mechanical stuff that we were working through with the new chassis. And it was, the balance was right. Everything was right. We had hard parts that were just wrong. We were waiting for stuff to be finished. We waited, there was manifolds that were ordered, 6 months ago that weren't showing up. There was just stuff that had to get all put together, and it finally came together in Vegas.
It certainly did come together in Vegas. Let's talk about even before the Vegas number 1, where Tony almost gets his first win, and get the McPhillips side of Tony Stewart. He isn't going to operate out of TSR and do drag racing. He's going to operate out of McPhillips Racing. How did all those type of conversations start? How did he get directed down your way? Because there's a lot of great options out there in the top alcohol dragster ranks, but he landed with McPhillips.
Yeah, and that'll really go back to one person, Ryan McGilvery. He's the car chief on Leah's Top Fuel car, who actually used to work with the Salinas at Scrappers Racing. So he was there for our first year with Jasmine. So we met him. He was able to see the way we operate, saw how competitive we were, and that he just thought, if Tony thought he wanted to step back from the Top Fuel thing, he was doing the testing runs and everything else, and he just wanted to get more comfortable because he's smart enough to know that he just didn't think he was ready for that. and Ryan thought it would be a good collaboration. And in reality, it just started as him wanting to make a couple test runs, see, get situated, get the feel for the car, see if it helped him on the top fuel side. So Ryan called, he came over, sat in the car, made sure everything was kosher and fit well, and then we decided we were going to hit the gas in Brainerd on the Monday after the national event. So we had a good weekend there. Matt Cummings running it up to Sean Cowie, and then the next thing we go to Monday and Tony hops in. And I mean, I don't have to say Tony Stewart's a good driver. I mean, we're not. He's so focused and he's able to prepare himself mentally that I give any new drivers of ours, I give them like a procedure, a run sheet, an order of everything that's going to happen from even the time we tow up to the lanes, to the time we're in the water box, to how we start the car, to the burnout, everything I just have, because you should, you don't know what you don't know. That's what he says. Right. You don't know. So I try to, quicken the learning curve by having that so that they can read that for a couple weeks, a month, whatever time before they hop in our car, they can get familiar with the procedures and everything else, because this is all procedures. You have to do the same thing every time, because that's how we tune the car. That's how we work on it on the outside, that nobody gets run over or any. You just have to be prepared. And he's got a way of just focusing that everything, people might think it comes naturally, but the guy works at it. I mean, that's why he's not the greatest. I mean, we're not talking just drag racing or anything else. And he respects the fact that you're not just hitting the gas and going straight. And,
right.
He was around it enough to know that there's a lot going on. And you're going fast. And if you hit something, it's not good.
Right. So, I do. Yeah. There's a lot of appreciation towards him he's taken the journey right. He could obviously be in a top fuel car right now if he wanted to be. I've seen him in testing. He can drive the thing, but he's like, no, let me step back. Let me get more acclimated. Let me possibly get there one day. Let me do it the right way. Because, I've had conversations with, even Randy. He's like, guys earn their license and then they're like, oh, I'm going to go run a national event. And it's like, you got to get some things under your belt. You got to get acclimated. You got to get used to these. You got to, catch up to these cars because they are so fast. I mean, as Tony, said, hey, I did 280 miles per hour. Nobody in NASCAR's went that fast. So, right.
It's just, and you should be prepared. You shouldn't be, when you're racing somebody else, always the main rule, keep it in your lane. I mean, it's from the start to finish, junior dragsters on, and you should know the procedures and everything else. Same as you said, until you make a run, you don't even know how they're going to turn you off, who's going to turn in front of you. Right. I mean, there's just a lot of little details that nobody really understands, but it's amazing that there's not more issues out here with all the moving parts. I mean, it's a miracle. I mean, there's just a lot of moving parts, a lot of people, and everybody should be prepared, and that's what he's preparing himself the right way.
Nevada Nationals last year, 2022. What a stellar day for Tony that day and for you all as a team. There he is, national event. I think that's the first national event he was ever a part of, and there he is. He goes to the final, just barely gets nipped by Madison Payne. I mean, almost a proverbial tie in drag racing. Was there a sense amongst even the McPhillips crowd and even with Tony himself, like, that was a bit too easy? Or was it, let's take the moment right now and enjoy it because it's going to be harder. This is not how it always is. What was the thoughts of the team and Tony himself in a day like that?
From our perspective, we're still pissed off because we're there because we want to win. That's whoever's in the car, we want to win. That's why we go there. We go there to win. I'm glad Madison got her first win, but I would have rather still beat her. And Tony and his people and the whole group say that it's a good thing. It was good for the sport that Madison got her win because she's a great racer. She's legacy. She's family. She's put in the time. And that was her first national event final, first win. But on our end, we still want to kick her ass. And if you ask her, she's wanted to kick our ass. She's happy she kicked Tony Stewart's ass. But it was a memorable day that everything just went smoothly. Like, it's just, we didn't plan that. We didn't, you don't expect it because, I mean, Tony just did everything right. I mean, like, there's no sweaty palms. There's no nervousness. I mean, I know he was nervous. He told it. I mean, everybody's nervous in that situation, but you're also nervous the first time you had to make a qualifying run against somebody. He never lined up beside somebody. We stood in the beams and kind of reenacted it to have your a feel for it. But there's all these things that, like I said, rolling up for first round that's like the round, because then it kind of gets a little easier. You can breathe. You lose first round, you feel like a duck, and you when you're in a good car, you expect it to produce. And he just did everything right. The car, Vegas isn't supposed to be an A-fuel track, but we've just been lucky that we've been successful in the last few years that we've gone there. But it was a great day. Everybody can say that they're glad Madison won and it didn't make it look easy, because yes, I go on the internet and see what people say, and they just think you hop in, you hit the gas, and it's a good car, and you should win. Why is everybody surprised? Everything still has to go right.
Everything still has to go right, and things didn't go right, as you've already mentioned. Baby Gators wasn't the best. Gator Nationals wasn't the best. We get to Las Vegas though.
Hey, Pomona wasn't the best.
Yeah, Pomona. You're right, Pomona. Pomona wasn't the best.
Testing in Bakersfield, really not good.
So there's been a string of what the heck's going on?
Yes.
Did Vegas feel different when you went into the national event? Is there any sense that it was going to be, I'll put it this way, at least a winnable weekend from what had been?
We left Bakersfield and basically took the whole car apart, front to back, went over everything. Dad noticed some things. Some of the parts had come in that we were waiting on. We did, he plumbed the manifold. He did a lot of things that you don't normally do between races when we're in Bakersfield, California, driving to Vegas. And he just went over the whole car with a fine-tooth comb. And Tony says as soon as he hit the gas on the first burnout in Vegas, he knew it was a better car, because it was a slug. It wasn't moving. We couldn't get it to move. So then Q1 goes out, has a great 60-foot, knocks the tire off. But it gave us some idea that it was back, at least, because before it was 60 foots, 980s. It was just terrible. And no matter what we tried, timing, lead, compression, it was still a turd. So that gave us some motivation. Then Q2, same thing. Halls has a decent 60-foot, shakes. Since then you go into Q3, not qualified. We got to get it down there. We kind of just what we call stretch the timing curve, walked it down there, and it's still around a 28. So at least then we could breathe. Q4 we had an issue that that was going to be our race day kind of tune-up combination, because it was going to be close weather and give us a kind of a plan, and we stepped on our toe on that one. So then we were back to E1 and kind of just played it by round. There was we didn't have this Q4 data that we wanted, so we based it off of Q3. The weather changed, and we just kept picking at it. And that's what Dad just stares at them squiggly lines on the computer and picked away. And the other part, we know we don't have to tune to be 500s quicker, because Tony's going to be 030 to 060, 030 to 050. I mean, he's a machine right now. And that's just his focus, his preparedness, and knowing the situation. Because the same thing, he'll ask us questions because he doesn't know. Great. He's got Leah and Matt and the whole team over there to ask, to get good answers, and he just is preparing himself round by round. Then same thing with the 4-wide, running blower cars in the other lane, and procedurally what to be expected. And he grasped it, and we put him in lane 3. It's not really a preferred lane. It was track wise, that's why we put him there, but staging wise and everything else, usually people like to be 1 and 4.
Yeah.
We throw him in. It doesn't affect him. He knew what he had to do. He knew what to focus on, and he got the job done.
Well, you yourself, McPhillips Racing, you got that guy with him driving like the last win he needed on the property. Yeah. He is the only guy to win on everything that is on the property at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. The bull ring, the dirt track, the big track, and now the strip, the drag strip. Wow, that's pretty cool.
That's probably gonna be hard to duplicate.
I don't think anybody's doing it.
Unless some of his buddies want to come over and hop in.
Right. Unless someone wants to do it. Which hey, I hope happens. I hope we see more of that. It is good and refreshing in the motorsports world to see someone like Tony. I like to call people like Tony, John Andretti, the Foyts, the Marios, so on, motorsportists.
Yeah.
They transcend just one particular discipline. And it's cool to see that he has gravitated toward drag racing where he is in his life at this moment. Well, McPhillips Racing, where it's at right now, is that where y'all want it to stay? Do you want it to grow? Do you want it to get bigger? Is it almost too much to manage now? What's the future of McPhillips Racing?
Like earlier, we don't really plan because we didn't really plan on having 2 of these or 3 of these as of now. But as the opportunities arise, we're also not going to say no to things. And you never say no. I mean, am I going to say no to Tony Stewart wanting to drive our car? Am I going to say no to Matt Cummings, Mike Coughlin when Troy called? I mean, we like to surround ourselves with what we call racers. They're just guys that want to race. They know what we're there for. It's not about being famous and all the other stuff. They just want to win. And we've been lucky enough that people have called us and they're in the same mindset that we're all there for the same reason. Like, we're spoiled and Jasmine, I mean, she wants to be the best too. I mean, like, everybody, they just want to win. She's competitive. Everybody, it's just, we've been very lucky, very fortunate. We don't go out and promote it. We don't, People just see how we do things. They know we're serious. And if they're serious, we're willing to play with them. And how to get bigger, I don't know, because like I said earlier, it all goes by the people. Pop's 68, gonna be 69. The hardest part is the trucks and trailers and the equipment to get everything there, and the people to work on it. I mean, it's the fuel cars. Every team out here is struggling to find help and all the rest. And it's not like this is a career for someone to come work on an A fuel car or so you find also you got to find people that really dig it and love it. So they're willing to miss work. They're willing to sacrifice. They're willing to be away from their families. It's hard to find them people for 17, 18, 19 weeks a year. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is a commitment. And I don't know what the future holds. I know we're nuts. I know we're crazy. I don't know. I mean, we see how Elite does it. I mean, they have 7, 8, 9. I don't know.
They're adding another one.
Yeah.
Another quadruple boy is running.
Yeah. So I don't know how they pull that off. I know, Pro Stock's a whole bunch more zeros than our deal, mm-hmm. and they can find the people. But at this moment, I'm just happy at this point that we're successful. My dad, after 50 plus years, is getting some recognition that he's deserved for a long time. Because locally on the East Coast, anybody that knows my dad, they know he struggled. He's gone through the ups, downs, and all the rest. But he's never stopped working. Like, all he does is work on this thing, live this thing, breathe. Like, it's not a good thing, but basically our days are based on how the race car runs. So if it runs good, we're in a good mood. If it doesn't run good, we're not very happy. That's why when you asked about who's the mouthpiece of the team or whatever else, most people probably wish I would shut the hell up more because I'm always flapping. If my lips aren't moving, something's wrong. But Dad is strictly focused on the race car. I do all the logistics stuff. I bring the driver stuff to him. I do all the I do mechanical stuff, but I'm not going and building engines. I'm not designing camshafts. I'm not, I'll help him on that stuff, but this is his deal. And I'm just glad that we've had the right people around us to be successful. And we'll see. I don't know. We've never even had a conversation with Tony what his plan is, if he's going to do it a couple years. We talked to Mike Coughlin. We talked to Matt. These guys are serious. I mean, they've been doing it their whole lives too. So we're just going to keep plugging away.
Well, I know this, folks. There might be a four-leaf clover on that car, but it's definitely not luck that's been getting the job done for McPhillips Racing. It's been a whole lot of skill. Rich, man, good to have you on the show. Appreciate you coming by, telling a little bit more of the story of the race team and behind the scenes with Tony. Before I let you go, anything else you might want to clue us in on?
Nah, I mean, we're here to do our job, and I won I do want to say that my mom's in my prayers and stuff. She's battling right now. So anybody wants to say a quick prayer for my mom, we'd appreciate it. And if there's a race, we're probably going to be at it, and we're going to try to step on their throats, and that's what we do. There's nothing that I know of, unless you got any top secret information.
No, I don't have any top secret information. That hasn't been passed along to me. Folks, Rich McPhillips Jr. here on Between the Slicks, and yes, pray for Mom. If you own a beautiful modern muscle car like this 1320 Challenger, I'm sure you don't want it stolen. Because the Challenger and many other modern vehicles have an easily accessible neutral release strap. That was your coin holder in your center console, and beneath that there's this red cord that someone can pop, put it into neutral, and potentially easily steal your car. But at Destroyer1320.com, they have the TDS, Theft Deterrent System, which is a cover over that strap using factory mounting points so that you don't get popped by a thief. So make sure to go to Destroyer1320.com using promo code MMR for 15% off and get your Theft Deterrent System TDS and steal the thieves' hope. All right, drag racing fan, let's dive into some drag racing news here on Between the Slicks. Thanks once again to Rich McPhillips Jr. for coming by and giving us some great insight on McPhillips Racing behind the scenes with Tony Stewart and that whole entire program. There are so many great teams in the top alcohol dragster division within the NHRA, the Lucas Oil Sportsman ranks, and want to tell more of their stories. It's been cool. So far this year, I've had Julie Natus on, Madison Payne, Cody Crone, Trevor Larkin, now Rich McPhillips, and I know I'm missing a few from Matt Sackman. There are great stories in that segment of NHRA drag racing. So the next time you go to a national event, and oh, by the way, go to a divisional, go to a regional, and check out those events as well. Look, make sure you go a little further beyond Nitro, beyond Pro Stock, and check out the McPhillips Racing, the Samsels Racing, the Randy Meyer Racing, and the people in those classes. Go a little further down the pits, and you'll have probably, I think, an even better experience because of you probably be available a little bit more access and be able to chat and be able to talk and see closer than even in the Nitro rank. So take the time to mosey your way on down to the alcohol ranks at your next national event, and definitely check out a regional if you have one near you. In drag racing news, man, there is a lot, and I think a storyline dominating this weekend, well, it would be Mother Nature, as we like to say. Northeast Outlaw Pro Mod Association, they are having to move once again their anniversary race weekend, celebrating 31 years and like $31,000 overall, like $45,000 in payout. It's going to be moved to the end of the year instead of being this weekend at MIR at the Supercharger Showdown, October 10th, 6th, and 8th. So they are having to make a move. And then a world that I'm definitely familiar with, the Chaos world, we had to make a move as well. Nitro Chaos, the first Nitro Chaos for the 2023 season, a championship season for Nitro Chaos, the first time ever. It is pushed back from this weekend to next weekend, May 5th and 6th, just outside of Cincinnati, Ohio, at Edgewater Sports Park. We are going to be there. I will be there for that particular event because it creates a brand new situation for Chaos, because there will be two Chaos races on the same weekend, but there's only one Chris Graves. So he's going to be down there in Texas, West Texas, Penwell Knights Raceway for the event of Funny Car Chaos out there, and we'll also be running Nitro Chaos in Cincinnati, Ohio. So that's going to be very interesting to see two chaos events happen at the same time in different places. And then later on this year at Eddyville, we're going to have Nitro Chaos and Funny Car Chaos at the same track at the same time. So some interesting things happening in chaos, and you never know. Chris might get some wild ideas if this particular weekend upcoming is successful. And look, it is no news to you all. I'm sure many of you looked that weather is going to play a factor here at ZMAX Dragway for the Circle K 4-Wide Nationals. Today, it rained all day, as far as I can tell, here in the Concord area. I was walking the pits earlier today and in and out of several pits, chatting with folks from the pro ranks to the alcohol ranks, and it was rain the whole time. My shoes are still wet from walking out there. Tomorrow looks better, the best it has looked the entire time of looking at the 10-day forecast. But Sunday still looms as a day in which it does not appear is going to be favorable to racing. But things certainly can change in the Southeast, and when they say scattered thunderstorms, well, they certainly mean it in this part of the country. You can have it raining on one side, raining on the other side, but in the middle, you're just fine. So, will the NHRA, Safety Safari, and everyone involved get this race in? Yes. Will it possibly be Monday? I think it will be. We might have a true Monday Nationals here at the Circle K 4-Wide Nationals, but that's kind of befitting for the Monday morning racer, isn't it? Maybe. Continuing in drag racing news, we want to mention with this event, hey, Joe Welch Racing, that beautiful machine, the national speed record holder in FlexJet Factory Stock Showdown. Well, he's going to be here in attendance. He won the Gator Nationals. Great start, points leader. This is his first ever 4-wide. Yes, remember, FlexJet Factory Stock Showdown, they run the 4-wide as well. So he's going to be partaking in that along with the rest of the field. That is going to be fascinating to watch. Lyle Barnett, some news that we don't want to hear. He has pulled out of running in Pro Mod here at the Circle K 4-Wide Nationals at ZMAX Dragway in Chip King's Pro Mod. They were doing some testing, and during testing, well, they found out the car that was broke, and they had to work on that machine. They did get it repaired, and with some other matters involved, they did decide to not come to this particular event and throw their hat in the ring on attempting to earn yet another Wally. Certainly hope that we see Lyle back in competition soon. He is one heck of a capable driver, U.S. Nationals winner, has won many other big events as well, and can get the job done behind any steering wheel, no matter what it might be. Hope to see him in Pro Mod soon. Currently, right now, in the state of North Carolina as well, the Strange Spring Fling presented by Optima Batteries is going on. Another big money bracket race by the people that put on these flings. You can see there a schedule, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and they do have plans for the rain. You can watch the Spring Fling on Motor Mania TV on YouTube, and I've got to say, my experience with Peter Biondo and his group working there at the Spring Fling Million in Las Vegas as the infamous starting line camera dude. Well, what a professional group they are. That is one of the best run events I think I have ever been a part of. And it was also an event where they understood what the racer, and not only the racer, but the crew people and the media people and everyone else involved were going to have to go through, and they changed things on the fly that made the event better for everyone involved. That was well done. And I can tell you as well that they take care of the people who were involved and working. And that is refreshing, especially in the media and motorsports world. So Peter Biondo and everyone there, Spring Flings, the Flings, keep up the good work. Definitely look forward to being back at another event and seeing some great bracket racing. And I know it's not advertised, these Flings, as a spectator event. Like, it would be an extremely long day as a spectator. And there's not quite the creature comforts that you might find at a national event or even at your local track. concessions open, just things like that. But it's worth going and attending, even if you are a spectator, because you're going to see some spectacular bracket racing by some of the best people in the world at that craft, bracket racing, and even see big name stars such as Dallas Glenn and, Sean Langdon and others that are racing in other segments of the drag racing world. Highly recommend check out a fling. Before we move along, yes, Drag Racing Central Factory X will have an exhibition. They will be running an exhibition. They do not start their points at all, but they do have an exhibition this weekend from what I do understand. Now, Jeff Turk, he will not be partaking of that. He had an incident in his ride, and if you want to know more about what happened with him in his testing session and the incident, the accident, competitionplus.com definitely does a great job of breaking that down. So you can check that out on competitionplus.com. We're going to continue in drag news here on Between the Slicks. Thank you all for watching. Hit that like button for me. Hit the share button. We'll be right back here. The plan is Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, Eastern Time, next week as well. Have no clue who I on. Probably by this time it'd be another top alcohol dragster or funny car driver, which would not bother me at all. Let's go into the world of PDRA, the Mid-Atlantic Showdown at Virginia Motorsports Park. Well, Jim Halsey comes away with the win. Not a shock there. And did it over Tricky Ricky Smith. What a great final in Pro Nitrous that people were able to experience, seeing Jim Halsey and Ricky Smith battling it out. And then in Pro Boost, in the Galat Black machine there, you can see in Pro Boost, Travis Harvey gets the job done, wins in Pro Boost, and then Chris Powers, he wins in Extreme Pro Stock. And actually, that's your points leaders as well. Jim, Travis, and Chris in these respective classes. Certainly, there is even more going on in the world of drag racing. That's what I wanted to highlight for you all tonight. Again, there is so much going on. And drag racing is so diverse. We did get some news that we all don't want to hear, and that is what? Bandimere. Bandimere Speedway is going to be gone in the near future. This year will be the last year. The last national event, at least, will be this year at Bandimere Speedway, and we can expect a near future that Bandimere, as we know it, as we understand it, will not be in existence. I am glad that there is, from that family, and remember, it's a family, it's not just a corporation, it is a family that loves drag racing. And I can tell you that family loves drag racing. It amazes me. I see Tammy Bandimere like every national event. They're routinely seen across the country and at drag races. They have done so much for the sport. 65 years worth of development and business and care and providing and making a place for people to race. Even if they didn't plan on building anything, they should be commended, and they should be respected for their efforts, their time, their tears, their blood, their sweat, the money that they have spent to provide a place to race. And again, I'm glad that they have spoken on, they have shared multiple times that there is an intention to continue the legacy, but do it elsewhere. I think in their situation, they're being proactive. Instead of getting in a fight with the community, they're going to go ahead and move beyond and again be a place for the community instead of having anything possibly smear their legacy and their brand and whatever that might look like. And I'm not even attempting to conceptualize what that would be, but they're moving on before it gets bad, if I may say. I think that's what they're doing. What does that mean on the nature of the sport? Well, I think the nature of the sport is healthy. Yes, I understand that we've lost Atlanta. The loss of Atlanta was rolled back into Gainesville, Pomona, and Indianapolis, assets that the NHRA is closely tied to. Okay, I'm fine with that. I can deal with that. And that was my home national event, by the way. Yes, it seems like we may be losing Phoenix, even though that seems like it's always still up in the air and what's actually happening. Yes, we've lost Houston, and it went under the knife very quickly, and it's gone. But with tracks leaving, with tracks that we're losing, remember, there is talk of tracks being built. There's talk of tracks desiring to upgrade their facilities and upgrade what they are as drag racing facilities to hold national events. And then also you have the teams wanting less races even as it is now. I think all of this swirl of rumors of new tracks and rumors of tracks going away and confirmation of tracks and seeing tracks going and what the teams want and what can be done and all of that, I think we are in a healthy place and we can find ourselves in a situation where the sport, yes, actually less races can be healthier. Remember, there were champions, many of you, that will say they're the best of champions and they won with less races and they won with less venues. You don't have to have 30 races to create credibility. The credibility is in the competition. It's that simple. And whether that competition is 10 races or 30 races, it's still competition. And it's competition in the world of drag racing at the highest level. If the championship season was scaled back to 16 races, hypothetically speaking, do you think anybody would want to not win that championship? No. That's not the case. I think the sport is healthy. And Ryan Racing, talk is cheap. That's true. Talk is cheap. We'll see what happens in the future. But even if it was just talk, 65 years worth of action is worth talking about and respecting. And then not only that, rumors are just that, rumors. People do talk. Things fall through. Business and partnerships don't happen. Happens to every one of us. Now, you make a good point, Drag Racing Central. Everyone wants less races until their home track gets cut from the schedule. Yeah, it's personal. You lose your home national event and you lose your home track. I'm in a situation where, Atlanta, it's gone. I did junior dragsters there. I raced there. I got to work the last event there, and I am humbled that that's the case, that I was able to do that. And it's sad to see it go. But 2 hours up the road in the opposite direction, I have ZMAX Dragway. And though it's probably never going to quite feel as home as Atlanta did, I did have that luxury. Now, let's say you lose one in your area. Well, maybe you got to drive a few more hours to see drag racing. What kind of fan are you? That's simple, I think. Plan it. Make a vacation out of it. Go see more than the race. If you live in the Phoenix area and you're losing your national event and you know it, and we're not going to be back there anytime soon, and Tucson doesn't become a situation, well, drive to Vegas. Drive in the heartland of the country. Get a plane ticket. And look, I get it. That's expensive. But I've done it. Because I love the sport and love drag racing. So, yes, it is tough to lose your home national event, but you'll find a way. Go check it out and go enjoy it. And then let's say you lose your national event. Let's say you lose NHRA drag racing in your area. Well, that doesn't mean drag racing is dead in your area. Go find drag racing that you probably didn't know about, because the sport is very diverse. With the NHRA not showing back up, possibly like in the Phoenix area, doesn't mean drag racing is dead in Arizona. Doesn't mean drag racing's dead in Georgia because Atlanta Dragway went under. There's plenty of drag strips in Georgia. Go support those. So on and so on. I definitely think the sport is healthy, and I definitely think in all this chaos, there's opportunity. We're just in a day and time where urban sprawl has caught up to places. Again, prime example, Commerce, Georgia. Commerce, Georgia, where Atlanta Dragway was at one time, was in the middle of nowhere. And now it feels like you're just getting out of Atlanta. And remember, folks, do a dive, do a history dive on how many racetracks have been built and have been lost. It is nothing new. As a race fan, you will continue to hear of tracks built and tracks demolished. It is a continual cycle because they're businesses. Overall, I think the sport is healthy. Thank you for watching the show tonight. Definitely good to have Rich McPhillips on and chat with him about McPhillips Racing, and you all get an opportunity to learn more about that program, the fire, if you will, behind Old Smoke getting his first national event victory in NHRA competition. You all take care. Tune in next time, 8 p.m. Thursday night, Between the Slicks.